Hi everyone. Today I'll be explaining what is an sampling messaging in an MCP server. So when a MCP client interacts with an MCP server, uh, there can be a possibility that an MCP server needs an invoke an LLM to understand to get a response from the LLM. Okay, so these MCP servers really don't need to incur the cost of the LLMs. Okay, so to do that, the MCP server can have a methodology called sampling, with which it can actually call the MCP client LLM model. So with the help of the MCP uh, sampling, right, the MCP server can invoke the LLM on the MCP client, and the response can be brought back to the MCP server, and the MCP server can actually work on that response and then return it as part of a response, or as a like a tool result. Okay, tool call result. Okay, so let us see how we can code that. So if you see the code here, where I have a method called generate poem and a topic and then context. So if you see this particular piece of code, so if you see, like, we have a context dot session dot create message. What does this context dot session dot create message does is, uh, like, if you see this session is on the server, MCP server, and this session is like acts as a connectivity between the MCP client and the MCP server. So whenever I say context or session dot create message, right, it actually creates a message and sends back to the MCP client. Okay, so this is nothing but a sampling type of message called sampling. So the MCP client will have a callback handler for sampling, such that whenever the MCP clients get a sampling message, it calls the MCP, like the sampling message, it actually invokes the LLM within the MCP client. Okay, if you see, like, I have just mentioned as role as user, and then the prompt contains like write a short poem about some particular topic which it's invoked. Okay, so, and if you see, once I get, like, I call this, I get the result. The return result is actually a response. Okay, so let us execute this piece of code. Okay, and then we can get to know more about this. Okay, uh, so let me run that. Yeah, now you see, like, my MCP server is running. So what I can do now is I can just invoke the uh, like, let me go to settings, so that I can actually go to the mcp.json file where I have the connectivity with my application. Or I can even do this, instead of going there, I can just go to agent mode here. Okay, and then I can just select tools. Okay, if you see, I have an MCP server here, and then this MCP server is also there here. So let me refresh. So refreshing here, right, will start the MCP server, and we can see if the MCP server is started or not. Okay, so let me click the tools, and I see it is started. Okay, so let me go to the debug console, sorry, like the output window for MCP server. We'll see if it's there here. No, I don't see that here. Okay, let's go to the tools. Let me click OK. For some reason I don't see it is showing as tools. Generally it should show that tools. Okay, let me, what I can do is I can just click and add MCP server and then a basic thing. Okay, and then I can give you this URL, okay, where the MCP has started. So let me go to terminal and then take this URL. Okay, and then I just add this, enter, enter, enter. Okay, I can see this. Okay, so let me see my old URL. Okay, me start my server. So I see my server has started. So if now I can see, it ideally should show me all the tools, but for some reason I am not seeing the tools, but it's okay. Let us see. Can you generate a poem on online using the MCP, using the generate underscore poem tool. The reason why I have written the main context of our is not prompt engineering, so I have just added directly to use the tool instead of saying it to work on the poem like prompt, right? So let me hit it. I'll see how it works out here. Yeah, okay, it has identified our tool and it has told like it will invoke the topic. Okay, it will invoke the tool. Let me click continue. Okay, so I can even see it has the debuggers are there and I can see like the code here, so I can see the session and everything. So let me continue this and see how it goes. Okay, let me continue it. Okay, if you see here I get some, see this MCP server has issued a request to make a language model call. What does it mean? So it is asking the GitHub Copilot that it will make an LLM call. Let us click allow in this session. Okay, and now let us see how it is. Okay, see, now I can see the result which is coming from the LLM, which is actually coming from the MCP client. Okay, so if you see that if the text content is type, I am actually returning the result. And now let me continue with that. Okay, now if you see the copilot, right, it is now actually showing me the what is like a poem on the topic love. Okay, so this is the main reason why we use sampling. Sampling actually helps the MCP servers to separate the logic of an LLM call. Okay, it transfers the logic of an LLM call to the MCP client. Okay, so that is the reason why we have this sampling functionality within an MCP tool. I think that's it from this video, and we'll see on the next video more on MCP topics. Okay, and I'll also cover some of the agentic AI capabilities and agentic AI like in a different frameworks like LangGraph, LangChain, and then we have AutoGen, and then also the other framework Crew AI and all that. And going forward, I'll also cover A2A and ACP, like agent to agent communication and agent communication protocol. Yeah, thank you everyone. Bye.